Hi and hello everyone. Welcome back to the PMP exam preparation. We are going to cover these two knowledge areas, project procurement management and the project stakeholder management. Project procurement management. Why does any organization procure anything from the vendors or suppliers? All the organizations could just make everything, and then sell the products themselves, right? If you have to purchase something from the vendor, they'll add a little bit of profit and then they'll give it at a higher price than the manufacturing cost. So why do organizations want to spend this extra money when they could just manufacture it all themselves? So the answer is simple. It is the capital expenditure. So not all products have same technology. It takes a very huge investment cost for manufacturing even the tiniest bit of the component. Let's say the hairpin or a water bottle. So even the cap of a water bottle needs a huge machinery to be installed. So the manufacturing methods are different. The expertise is different. The raw materials is different. Even for a small component with two or three sub-components in it, they might have different processes for each and different materials for each of the components. So the processes are different, right? So the expertise needed to create that part is different. So the organization, if it starts developing all these expertise which somebody else already have, it takes years together to build a product. So that's practically not possible. So consider that you want to wear a suit, for example. Would you rather purchase it from a tailor who is the expert in the cutting top class two piece, or just do it yourself? We all prefer to go to the expert, or the worst case, we purchase it ready made instead of going to the tailor. No, but we never try to learn the stitching ourselves, as it costs a lot of money, time, energy, and mostly the skills, right? The skills here are the most important thing. So the organizations, they also follow the same methodology. They prefer purchasing from the experts. So the experts from that particular field who can develop and fit the product for the project's requirement, for the organization's requirement. But what happens is the organization shares its standards that the particular product has to be formed in their own methodology, in their own standard. They have to follow certain guidelines. The product has to adhere to some quality standards. All these things will be given to them, and the expert who is already aware of these manufacturing processes, who already has this capital expenditure with them, they come forward to sell that product to us. So to make things more legal and also to protect this product from leaking to the competitors, what happens is there will be contracts signed between the sellers and buyers. We discussed about these contracts or agreements, right? Memorandum of understanding, non-disclosure agreements, service level agreements, etc. All these agreements are there to ensure that when an organization gives business to a seller, the technology is not shared with somebody else. This vendor creates that product only for this buyer, not for anybody else. So when we talk about these agreements, right, NDA, SLA, or MOUs, these agreements, unfortunately, they cannot be signed by the project manager directly, right? So project manager, of course, helps in creating them. He is the one who also, adds value to these agreements, but he cannot directly approve it because project manager, it's a big responsibility. But considering the organization, he is not authorized to sign it, right? So who can sign it? Only the project sponsor, who is considered as a legal representation of this company. He is the one who can approve this agreements or countersign on these agreements. So and the procurement is it's not always done just for the physical product. We talk only about product manufacturing, different processes and all, but sometimes the services are also outsourced. Consider a testing facility, for example. You create a product, let's say a bicycle bearing, which is in the both wheels. So to test the life of this bearing, you'll be needing a huge equipment which runs for a number of days at a particular environment. So instead of just purchasing all this huge equipment that you need for testing, you can just go to the vendors who creates these bearings or who tests these bearings, and he'll give you the result. Okay, this bearing fits your load capacity, or this bearing fits or runs for your life. So based on the application area, the seller of the product is called the contractor, or he's called a supplier, or he's called a vendor, or sometimes even a service provider, because we are taking services from them. So we as a buyer or purchaser can be the owner of the final product, we can use this product as it is without adding any modification to it, or we can also add some value to it, assemble it to something else, paint it, or add your own logo to it, and then sell it to another end user of this product. So it can be anything. So who should do this procurement activity? In small organizations, which has very smaller scale projects, this activity is usually done by the project manager himself. But in case of complex projects, a separate purchase team handles these procurement activities. Also, before we move on to the process details, let's also spend a bit about understanding the emerging trends in the procurement. We are understanding the trends in each and every process. So in this procurement process, the advancement in the use of software that has been trending right now. We are all aware of this SAP software, which allows us the creation of purchase orders, right? But in addition to this, all the memorandum of understanding, service level agreements, whatever agreements that I mentioned, they are also being driven by the softwares. So these agreements are pushed in this software, and then they are electronically countersigned by the opposite party. And these softwares are designed to bound to these legal agreements. And secondly, risk management. Earlier, all the defects related to product were they were directly being held responsible by the supplier. But now the risks which the purchasing organization can handle are being handled by the purchasing organization itself. They're not pushing these concerns towards the supplier. So only the problems that are in control of the supplier or the vendor are being handled by the vendors. And next emerging trend is the use of technology to monitor the vendors. I have not seen this, as famous, but this is also an emerging trend that it will not be an exaggeration when I say this, that some vendors are even allowing the video monitoring of their processes to their customers. What they do is they install a small webcam in front of the huge machinery where the tests are being run at remote areas, and then the live feed of these testing facilities are being sent live to the customer who's sitting at a very remote end, maybe even a different country, right? So these are also the emerging trends in procurement management. Let's have a quick look at the processes in this knowledge area. We have 3 processes to learn. First thing is the planning of procurement management. Here we identify the sellers and identify the vendors. Basically, all the procurement decisions are made here, right? So let me quickly make use of the pen. Conducting the procurements. This deals with talking to suppliers, getting their quotations, etc. Controlling the procurements. This is nothing but monitoring and performing monitoring the performance of the whole procurement plan. So let's quickly jump to each one of these processes.